They are like agbero in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background, and today we are here in TSTV, and that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, good morning and welcome to National Discourse. On today's episode, we are going to still be talking about elections. Of course, that is what we have as something that is recurring and something that we still have, to face. Is a big deal in Nigeria right now. So we are going to be looking at elections and of course the expectations. And I have someone with me in this studio. But we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, I will introduce my guest to you, and then he will tell us what he can do for the constituency he's trying to represent, and of course the party in entirety. So sit back. Our social media handles will be on the screens. Just sit tight and participate by your calls by the time we open our phone lines. I remain your host, Uche Uduma. Stay with us. Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like agbero in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
what happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background, and today we are here in TSTV, and that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hey, welcome back from that short break. I have someone in the studio, like I said. I have Mr. Omabishe Barrow. I hope I'm correct, sir.
Yes, you got it right.
Good morning to you, and welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
I would want you to introduce yourself and the capacity at which you're contesting for these elections, so that the people you're about to represent will be able to catch up with you and, of course, throw their questions back to you.
All right, so thank you. My name is Omabishe Barrow. I'm the candidate of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, ANRP, for the House of Representatives seats in Abuja Municipal and Buhari Federal Constituency in Abuja, Nigeria's capital.
All right, your party.
Yes.
We actually, Nigerians rather, we actually have issues with parties that are, will I say, unpopular. I hope that doesn't offend you, but you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yes, certainly.
Right. Yes, we have a multiple party system in Nigeria, right? But when it comes to Nigeria, we have some parties that are, will I say, we have the major party, the party in power, and the opposition. So why did you choose to run with this party? Let's start from there.
Yeah, and just if you don't mind to give some context to what you have said, people talk about the fact that certain parties are popular, and my point is popular for what? Look at Nigeria, popular for delivering bad governance, popular for not taking us where we should be. You know what I mean? And so that is the background whereby some of us decided that if we wanted to get involved in politics, we wanted to do it on our own terms, on terms that we believe are better for the Nigerian people, because we share a unique ideology, we share a unique set of values that do not align with the values and the ideologies of what we describe as the establishment politicians and the establishment political parties. So we have the right to political association, and it is in exercising that right that I decided to join ANRP, a party that even from its name, has very deep ideological background. The concept of the abundant Nigeria, that Nigeria has an abundance of resources, if well tapped and managed, will be available to help our country. That there is a need for the renewal of our country, that things are wrong with the hearts, with the minds of people in Nigeria, and with the way we have been doing politics and governance. The constitution, the manifesto, the ideology, and the goals of ANRP resonated very well with me, aligned with me, and that's why I decided to choose ANRP. You know, if you think about one of the things that is very popular, we say all the time, Albert Einstein's great quote about doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting different results. You can't do that. That if we want to do things in Nigeria, we need a break from the norm, we need a clean slate, and that's what ANRP, Omagbise Barrow, and all our candidates represents for the Nigerian
All right,
people.
I'll just ask you this question very straight with a sentiment. If you have had opportunity to contest under the popular parties you're talking about, would you reject that?
100%. I would rather not be a politician.
Okay, so for how long have your party existed?
ANRP was founded in 2016. It officially was licensed by the INEC in 2017. Okay. So we are about 2 years old.
So the party is as fresh as what do you want, or as fresh as your ideology is?
Yeah, and it's not just about the fact that it is new, or that it is about younger or more innovative, youthful people. It's more about what we stand for. You know, for example, zero tolerance to godfatherism, zero tolerance to money bags, zero tolerance to the use and abuse of money in politics and in campaigning. Some of those things are really at the heart of everything that is wrong with politics and governance in Nigeria. And I stand 100% with ANRP and all our candidates in saying that those things are wrong, those things are fundamental abuses, and it is because of a lot of those things, or the preponderance of those things in the establishment or so-called popular political parties, that we have the problems that we have in Nigeria.
All right, before we go into the major focus, which is you and what you stand for, and of course what you want to achieve or do for the people of Amaka Buhari Federal Constituency, I want us to throw our minds back to elections and what they've been standing for, or what they've stood for, and where we are today. Now, looking at the context or the background that which you're coming from to represent. Now, do you think we have moved on from what it used to be, from the norm? Or let's look at, for example, 1999 elections. I'm not talking about presidential now. I'm talking about the office of which you're running for. Now, from 1999 to now, can you spot any difference or whatsoever?
Well, I don't think anything has changed, except in 2019. Hopefully, things will get better and will take us in the direction we want to go. Here's what we see. The elections for House of Representatives as well as Senate take place on the exact same day as the presidential elections. In 2015, for example, perhaps with about 900 and something, or perhaps over 1 million potential voters in Abuja Municipal and Buhari Federal Constituency, only 160 or 170,000 votes were cast for House of Representatives on the same day where more than 600,000 people voted for president. People then ask, why is there such apathy towards lower level elections? Number one clear reason is that the quality of the candidates that are coming out, do not inspire many people to come out and vote. So people will actually go and vote on that same day for the president and decline to vote for House of Reps and Senate, because many such people say that the quality of candidates did not impress them. Second problem is that we have a big problem with focusing so much on the presidency. Nigerians think, wrongly so, that if they elect one person as president of Nigeria, all their problems will disappear. We saw that in 2015. In 2019, that same rhetoric, that same feeling, that same, language is going around, and it is very wrong. It is one of the other problems we have with our electioneering and our political development in our country, that everybody says to me that in politics it is grassroots. So immediately I declared I wanted to become a member of the House of Reps. Everybody around me would say, oh, Bishe, you need to go to the grassroots. Now, 7 months later, here's what I tell people. Having gone to the grassroots, campaigned and so on and so forth, I find that you people don't vote at the grassroots. So there's not enough participation actually by people in grassroots. But here's what people say back to me. The quality of the candidates at those levels is abysmally poor. Therefore, why will I want to vote for such people? You know, so why I believe 2019 will be different is that with better candidates coming in, with better engagement, and even the opportunities that the media is providing at that level for candidates like myself, we believe that people will then be more confident, including people who are watching us now, to say, that's an interesting fellow, that's an interesting political party, I would like to vote at that level. Because grassroots is where politics is, and it more importantly is where governance is. You cannot expect somebody in Aso Rock Villa to cater for the needs of everybody in Nigeria directly. If there are no good House of Reps members, local government councillors, local government chairmen, senators, and so on, who are hands-on, rolling up their sleeves at the grassroots level, you can't expect one person in Aso Rock to change the fortunes of everybody in Nigeria.
All right. You know, most times people say, all right, or there's this regular say or norm that the reason why people don't normally vote, I will still borrow that word, I beg your pardon, it really hurts. The unpopular parties, for example, is because, you know, while you were talking in your introduction, you said the reason why you picked your party is to avoid godfatherism and, of course, the money bag thing. Now, people have this belief that those people in the unpopular parties, they don't really have the financial prerequisite, all right, to compete with the people in the popular parties. Do you understand? So I want you to react to that statement.
Yeah, and with due respect to the word popular, like I said before,
Yes.
and with due respect to everybody watching, depending on their political background, again I ask, popular for what? I prefer the word notorious, but let's move on. Yeah? So you asked about money in politics. Godfatherism and money bags is the reason why we have problems in politics. We go around campaigning and people are shouting at me, honorable, you don't bring money, you don't bring rice, you don't bring salt. And I'm looking at them in their impoverished state and wondering, your mumu never do? Can't you see that it is because they came and distributed money and rice and salt and seasoning cubes to you and cloth through their merchants of politics that you remain impoverished? Can't you see that vote buying is the modern slavery that keeps our people poor, desperate, and indebted perpetually to a rogue political class? Can't you see? So, and on the issue of money, we are crowd-funded 100%. So let me share this with you. Personally, I have had over 2,000 people contribute to my campaign almost on a daily basis from the first day I declared in July 2018. We have the full capacity to run our campaign. The maximum money that a House of Reps person can spend on a campaign is 70 million naira. We have raised amounts very close to that. We have run a very engaging campaign because we have gone beyond corruption. There's an alternative to money bags. There's an alternative to godfathers. It is crowdfunding. That if ordinary people put their monies together, and this is the way politics is practiced in decent countries all over the world. So if we want to be decent, we must move towards crowdfunding and stop talking about money bags.
All right. Now, I'm a realist.
Yes.
So let's start to look at things the way they are and not the way they ought to be.
Correct.
Now, this is our country. This is Nigeria.
Yes.
And what takes upper hand in Nigeria is not corruption. I don't want to use that word. Now, we have a group of people that have a certain ideology on how politics should be run. They're talking about the common man on the street. The only language they want to understand is a bag of salt, bag of rice, few packs of Indomie, and once you are done with that, man, they are going to vote for you because of the state of the economy. What do you think, or rather, do you think the young parties coming in or the young men coming in to participate in politics have what it takes to change that norm? I'm talking about changing the existing norm.
that mindset.
Good.
Yeah. So let's look at Abuja, for example. Ahmad Buhari. 70% of the people who vote in this constituency who are watching us right now are not the people you are describing. They are actually educated people like you and I who work in the public service, who are businessmen, who own their own businesses, who work in the organized private sector. Here's the truth, Uche. Those people do not come out and vote. This is where the problem is. That I tell people that it is people like you and I and a lot of the educated elites in our society that are responsible for this mess. Number one, we do not come forward as candidates because we say politics is dirty. Number two, when we even want to participate as voters, we shy away from voting. We say, oh, politics, they are not interested. There's great apathy. And then, therefore, we leave politics on the demand side and on the supply side to a group of people who are incompetent to make those types of decisions. So here's what I believe. You asked a question. Can we turn it around?
Yes.
If people like you and I, so if people like you and I, people watching us right now, if we decide to come forward as candidates, to support forward-thinking candidates, and to actually go and vote against the people who do vote buying and money bags and godfatherism, we are more than enough in Abuja to win the elections. The demographics, the population figures are in support of us. The problem is that we do not vote. And that is the basis of our own campaign. For example, the theme of my campaign is let's get involved. Let's get involved. Let's stop sitting on the sidelines. Let's stop speaking English. Let's stop theorizing. Let's stop, and let's stop pandering to the wishes of people who are incompetent to lead us. If we believe we are better than them, let's get involved, both as politicians and as voters, and let us exercise it. And let us also educate our people. Think about what I'm saying. Think about a pastor, an imam, a priest, a bishop, a leader of a faith community. These people are well educated. The people who are collecting money, collecting rice, collecting bags of salt are the people in their congregations. To what extent are we using, for example, the faith institutions to push these messages, to convict people that, look, as children of God, as followers of true faiths and true believers, why would you succumb so low to collecting cheap inducements for your vote? It is our responsibility. So the combination of us participating, us voting, and us talking to the people around us. We have security men, we have Merua around us. Are we talking to those people?
All right, now hold on there. Nigerians, especially the class of people we are talking about now, they are not interested in your talks. I hope you know that. All they want to say is your action. And the only action on the only language they understand is exactly what we are talking about. Now, Paraventure, not Paraventure, I wish you luck, and we wish you luck. We pray you win. Paraventure, you win. How can you change this?
You know what, Uche? When I do win the election by God's grace, that narrative itself has changed. So
please, can you hold on?
Yeah.
I think we have a first call. Hello? Hello? Good morning to you. Oh, we lost the call.
Yeah. The narrative itself will change, because here's what people are going to say, that here's a guy, Omagbishe Baru, from ANRP, contested an election without giving out money, without sharing rights. The fact that I will win the election itself is already the beginning of the renewal.
Okay.
And let me share something with you. When we go out campaigning all the time, we meet people like this. I mean, yesterday we went in the villages in Lugbe, and I said to people, I saw somebody say, oh, wearing a rosary, and I said, say, you won't give me money. I said, get behind me, Satan. You know the truth about it? You can actually talk to people. You said that people don't want to hear talk. You can talk to people and set them straight. We are all in need of value orientation in our society. The problem is that politicians who have political power are not speaking like me, because they are benefiting from the status quo. And what is the status quo? That Nigerians remain impoverished and poor.
Now, how can you deal with poverty? That is a follow-up question to what I asked you before. How can you, as a candidate coming out, deal with poverty in your constituency, Paraventure? You're getting there.
There are
what are your strategies?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you putting in place?
So, for example, there are many things we are putting in place, but in particular about poverty. One of the things I realized is that Nigerians talk about economic plans of the federal government. Sometimes they talk about economic plans of their states, but nobody ever talks about economic plans at local government and ward levels. And it is no surprise, because the quality of people who are there don't even have the capacity to talk about or even think about economic plans. So when I get there, by God's grace, one of the things I'm going to do is to try to push economic planning and economic blueprints to the 22 wards in Abuja Municipal and Buhari. Let me give you a simple example. Think about a place like Igu or Kawu. These are the most remote villages in the Buhari Area Council. These are real villages. The people who live there are 100% peasant farmers. In this same Abuja, 2 hours away from where they are are thousands of people like you and I who work in banks, who are very sophisticated, very educated, who have the means. And here's what they are looking for in the city. We are looking for opportunities to invest in agriculture. And 2 hours away from us are thousands of peasant farmers who do not have organized agriculture. One of the things that I would like to do is to create an economic blueprint for places like that. To do what? To attract investors from within this same Amak and Buari, isn't it? To be able to support them, build the right types of farming equipment, provide fertilizers for them. This is not about government, though. This is not about spending government money. This is about using your brain, your intelligence, your expertise, your network to facilitate the development of an economy for every ward in Abuja. This is the type of economic blueprint that we will put together, whether it is for farmers, whether it is for livestock people, whether it's for people who are making things with their hands. Whatever it is, Nigeria's population and the population of Abuja is enough to support a strong domestic economy. The problem is that we don't have intelligent enough leaders who are youthful, energetic, who have innovation, and most importantly, have character to focus on dealing with the issues of the common man rather than focus on dealing with their pocket issues. These are just a small example of the type of things that I would like to bring into the economic empowerment of people in Amak and Buari.
All right, we'll be going for a short break now, and when we come back, he will tell us what prompted him or preempted him to, come for this position, and he will continue from his promises. We don't believe in campaign promises. We believe in the delivery of what you said you are going to do. So when we go for a short break and come back, he will tell us what prompted him to, go for this, and of course this particular party you've told us, and then he will continue from there. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa young nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background, and today we are here in TSTV, and that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, you welcome back from that short break. I'm still in the studio with Mr. Omabe Shibaro.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy I got that name straight away.
You're doing it very well.
Thank you. All right, sir. Now, the next question we want to give you is, what else can you do for the people of your constituency or intended constituency?
Yeah.
But before then, what is the pushing factor that brought you out?
So let me share a bit of my background with the audience and with everybody and with you. I'm a chartered accountant. I used to be an investment banker. I'm an educator. I run 3 educational institutions, a school, an autism education center for children with special needs, and a company that builds resources and books. I'm an author. I write and develop things for young children to learn. What prompted me was very simple. That how can I, blessed with all of these things that God has given to me, continue to live in a country like this, fold my arms, write in the newspapers as I do every 2 weeks, and complain and philosophize about how things should be better, and do not participate in politics? How can I? I really believe, Uche and all our viewers, that as a Christian, that at heaven's gate I will be asked the question that beyond taking care of your family, beyond building your businesses, what did you do to take care of the mess of your country with all the talents and gifts that you have. This is what convicted me to get involved in politics and governance.
Convicted.
Oh yes, it held me one day.
So you convicted yourself?
Oh yes, and nobody called me. Nobody said, I didn't know ANRP. I googled it. I went online and I said I wanted to find a political party that aligns with who I am. I found it and I am happy I did. So I'm not somebody that you will say they called me to come and run. Nobody called me. I woke up one day with this strong conviction that I needed to do something, because I would not have fulfilled my life's purpose if all I have done is to take care of my family and those who are around me while my country continues to deteriorate.
All right, that having been said well, what else can you do for the people of Amabuari?
Yeah, so
like I said before, when for that short
no promises.
We don't believe in campaign promises.
Correct.
Because most times when the people get into these positions, they forget that there were things that they said. And it's very easy here. Once we come in here, you will tell you that this goes online immediately after now. So it stays there as something that just hold you back. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So when you come here, just tell us the things you know you will be able to do.
Yeah.
Not the things you will say to just like fantasies,
yes,
to just make people feel very good and comfortable.
Yeah.
So what are the things you can do to ameliorate the sufferings of the people in your intended constituency?
I would like to start by first saying that people need to understand the job of a legislator, and it is not building roads and schools. So moving on from there, there are 4 things that I intend to do. And I call it the role of a legislator. It is ROLE, representation, oversight, legislation, and engagement. So let's start with representation. What am I going to do differently? Simple. I'm going to set up what we call, for the first time in Nigeria, as far as I know, the office of the legislative ombudsman. An ombudsman, as you would understand, is a person who sits in the middle of the government and the people and protects the rights of the people. We will set up offices in all of the 22 wards in Abuja, staff them with competent people, train them to do what? To receive complaints from people 24/7, the way a contact center runs, so that if anybody harasses you, if anybody cheats you, if your rights are being trampled upon, if your transformer blows and the AEPB is not responding to you, or your water system breaks down, that you can go to the people in the office of the ombudsman in Abuja and they will help you. And where they cannot solve your problem at a local level, they can escalate it to their member representing the house, Omagbishe Baru from ANRP, and he will fight on your behalf. That is unique representation. Number 2, oversight. We are going to use that same office, engage people as forensic auditors. What are they going to do? They're going to follow the money, Uche. That every item in the budget for each of the 22 wards in Abuja, that in Amak Buhari, that first of all we will publish it in every community, that this is the budget in 2019, in 2020, that the government has set out for you, isn't it? You people need to know. Now we are going to follow it bumper to bumper. If there is meant to be a road here, if there is a school that is meant to be refurbished and it hasn't been done, we will pursue the Wuru leaders bumper to bumper. Simple. We will report it in the press. We will call people like you. We will come to your station. We will go in the conventional and social media, and we will shout that this is what the people were meant to get, and they haven't gotten it. In terms of legislation, the third aspect, I will focus primarily on 3 things. To treat every Nigerian as a VIP. Value reorientation. Critical. I will sponsor legislation and executive action that promotes value reorientation. Strengthening institutions in our country. Electoral reforms, very important. Things around federal character and the political configuration of Nigeria. These are important things. And then police reforms, public service reforms. A lot of work needs to be done. And very importantly, building the people, investing in health, social security in an innovative way. Let me give you a quick example. The current administration federally gives out conditional cash transfer to people. They give out cash, 5,000, 10,000 to people. I would say, why don't you cut that money into 2? Because if you give me 5,000 cash and I'm going to spend it now, if you keep part of that 5,000 in contributory pension for people who are old, when they get old, if you keep part of it in health insurance for the people, it means that while they can eat 2,500 naira now, when they go to the hospital, what will happen? They will have access to health because you have paid for health insurance for them. When they are old and not able to have the capacity to work, then they will have retirement benefits. Social security is a very important thing, and I'll be using a lot of my experience to say, let's do things in a different way. And then finally, E for engagement. And I already gave you the example of that around economic empowerment, where we are engaging communities to find out what their comparative economic advantage is within Amak and Buhari, and working with them to exploit it to its full potential, so that our people stop saying, honorable government, we are looking for handouts, and they have enough money in their pockets. I hope you know that out of the 10 fastest growing cities in the world today, Nnewi in Anambra State is one of the 10 fastest growing cities. And it is not because of government, it is because of enterprise. I would like to change Abuja to a city of enterprise, where people work together to really grow their economy.
All right, now, most times, even in the Senate and the House of Reps, when some laws are being sponsored,
yes.
You have, it starts passing all the legislative process and everything before it becomes law. Now, even when such laws are made, most times we have enforceability issues.
Correct.
Now, you have great ideas which you're bringing up, you're bringing to the table to change the people of the intended constituency. Now, my question is, what are your enforceability strategies that you have on ground to ensure that these your dreams, you follow it to the latter and ensure that it is working?
Enforceability has two dimensions. One is trying to even get everybody to be on the same page with you to even pass the law that you are looking at, isn't it? But once it becomes a law, then it must be enforced. The problem with enforceability is what I said earlier. If I have political godfathers who hamstring me, if I have money bags who tie my mouth and who tie my hands behind and leave me incapable, then I will not be able to do it. The only way for me to succeed, and that's why I was very careful about my level of political association and what political party I joined and everything that I have done, because I know that by God's grace, if I do get there, I will need to be free. I will need to be independent enough to do these things. Legislators have far-ranging powers. They have the powers to request for people to be arrested, isn't it? Yes, they should use their power. The problem, Barrister Uche, is that they don't. Why? Because they have godfather, because they have money bags, because they belong to a political class that is not interested in these affairs. Omagbishe Barrow of ANRP will not have my hands tied, my mouth will not be tied. I will have the independence. And it is that independence, to answer your question, it may sound very simplistic, but that independence is a powerful tool. It is that independence that nobody will come in the middle of night for a caucus meeting. Abi?
All right.
It is that independence that will make the difference.
Godfatherism aside and money bags aside and all that. Now, before we started, actually, you mentioned about how people are contributing to make sure that your dream comes true.
Correct.
When it has to be a public contribution and all that. Now, such persons that have contributed, do you think they'll have an influence on you when you eventually come up? Because every action have a reaction
and consequences.
Good. And there are also reasons.
Yes.
We have the menstrual, have the actus rea. We have the reasons why some people do certain things.
Sure.
Now, there are things that prompt people to react or to respond to your call. Now, such persons eventually have this interest. All right. Now, by the time it works out for you, don't you think such persons would actually turn back to give you certain demands?
So let me answer the question. I have people contributing to my campaign from 500 naira, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100, 500,000 naira. Nobody has contributed to my campaign more than myself. No single individual has contributed a single amount of money that is more than what I have contributed to my own campaign.
Okay.
And that ensures that nobody will have a stranglehold on me. So to answer your question, is it the person that contributed 50,000 naira? Do I look like I don't have 50,000 naira? Even the person who contributed 500,000 naira, I have contributed in multiples of that amount for my own campaign. I have had over 2,000 people contribute to my campaign. Some of them, like I said, very small amounts on a monthly basis. Those amounts cannot shake me. Those amounts cannot control me. And that's the whole purpose of crowdfunding, so that you will remain independent of the people who are contributing to you. So that's why I smiled when you asked the question. I do not expect anybody who has contributed. What's wrong with them? How much is it that you contributed anyway? Exactly. Because there's no amount that you've contributed as an individual. Collectively, I didn't have all the money. But there's no amount that one person has contributed that I did not have, and I have not contributed to my own campaign. So you cannot muscle me. You cannot tell me that because of that amount you contributed, you are going to control me. Remember, you are just one out of 2,000 people.
And then there are no key persons.
There's nothing like key person. There's only God the Father. He's the only key person. I tell people all the time in my campaign that there are only two people who are sacrosanct in this campaign: God and myself, the candidate. Every other person is dispensable. And I say it with all sense of humility and maturity, meaning that nobody apart from God and myself can dictate what will happen in my campaign and what will happen in my political future.
All right. While you were talking about the plans you have for your people, and you talked about representation, and then we were talking about building offices or springing up offices and all that. You know, one thing about law, which you've mentioned, trying to pass a bill, because you are going to House of Reps, which means before you want certain things done, you have to pass through some legislative processes.
Exactly.
Now, you are one person out of the multitude of people in the House of Reps.
Yes.
And of course, you know how the process of passage of bills into law, operate. Do you think there are people, with like minds like yours that will be in the House of Reps? Do you think they'll be willing, to support what you want to do?
So it's a good question you've asked, and a very pragmatic one. So one of the things that I have already started to do is to work with certain individuals who already are prospective candidates who share these ideologies. And we are setting up something called the Parliamentary Action Network, including people in civil society and other people who are not politicians, that we can create a pressure group of forward-thinking politicians who really have the intentions of the common good and the common man in the bottom of their hearts. And that if we can come together, the truth about it, they say that evil people conspire in covens all the time, while good people are doing what? Watching TV and speaking English. These good people, however few we are, that we enter the House of Reps in 2019, we are going to come under the umbrella of the Parliamentary Action Network, which I have co-founded and is already in the pipeline. And we are going to work together to ensure that as a group, we will vote en bloc on matters that concern us and that are critical to the common man in Nigeria, and that we will grow our membership. You see, the children of light have to do a lot of work to dispel darkness. Darkness cannot remove darkness. Vote buying cannot remove vote buying. Rigging cannot remove rigging. It is only when light is introduced in darkness that the place will be lit up. So we are going to light up Nigeria, light up the parliament, not just at the federal level, but at state levels. So we are pragmatic people. We understand, though, Uche, that Rome was not built in a day.
Sure.
So we are going to be dogged, we are going to be persistent, but because our hands are not tied and our mouths are not tied and there's nobody disturbing us, we will do our jobs and we will do it to the best of our ability for the Nigerian people. And these same people will later come and see that there is a hope, that there is a possibility that things can really be different in our country. Because you see, when people talk about how the Nigerian way, this is what people are used to, like you alluded to earlier, it means that we have accepted that we are doomed. And I refuse to accept it. And all of our viewers, all Nigerians, should refuse to accept that our country is doomed.
All right, talking about vote buying and vote selling and all that. Now, these are things that takes place in polling units. Yes, INEC has been doing its bit to make sure that these things phase off. But you and I know that these are things that you cannot just wake up and eradicate them totally. But how is the party getting ready to ensure that, I know it is not their responsibility, it's the responsibility of INEC and the security operatives, but the truth is we are all Nigerians and we know how things work. Now, how ready, or what is the level of preparedness of your party to ensure that this does not happen in the polling units?
So what we are doing is reaching out to forward-thinking people like you and many of the people who are watching, who share our conviction and passion, and saying that the final battle line in every election is the collation of results. Let us get independent-minded, God-fearing people to stand as polling unit agents for ANRP in every polling unit in Abuja. If we do so, nobody is going to cheat us of our vote.
You have such plans on ground already?
We are already working. Oh, no, it's already in full swing. I'm using the opportunity of the media, the opportunity you've given me to say it to people, that that's what we want. Because if people like you dress up well, as you did, Kankwe, stand as a polling unit agent, who is going to come and try and incentivize you and give you a bribe to change the result? This is reality. You get my point. So we are not going, it's not small boys and girls that are going to be our polling unit agents. So it's people of character, people who are serious. So when they stand gidigba. Nobody can tell them that, just tell them, go away, let's change the results. No, or come and take 2,000 naira, let's change the results. So these are practical things that we put on ground. But one other thing is that we have, through our messaging, also been educating people, which is good, and also trying to get across to INEC and the security agencies. I've challenged them in every opportunity I've had in the media to say that go and infiltrate the parties. Go into, what do you call it, underground activities. Go and find out those, including my party. In fact, infiltrate my own campaign. Come and become a member of my campaign team. Abi, isn't that the job of the security services? Clandestine operations. Use these clandestine operations to overcome and identify people who are trying to cheat during the elections, and do your work and stop them. Because, you know, the truth about it is that if all hands are not on deck in this way, you know, and another thing, you know, I spoke earlier about religious people, you know, and I've said to my friends who are pastors and priests and imams, I said to them, talk to your people, because people say INEC, security agencies, as if it's a building. It's not human beings who work in INEC. Is it not human beings who work in security agencies? Are they not Nigerians? Do they not go to the market? Are things not wrong with them and their communities? Are they not tired? Their mumu never do. Can't they understand that even if they get an instruction from a superior officer, that they can conscientiously object to it in the name of moving Nigeria forward? So it is not INEC or the security agencies. It is human beings who work in INEC and the security agencies who have a conscience. We have to speak to that conscience beyond looking for pecuniary benefits, which is so widespread in Nigeria and which is rather unfortunate, you know. So those are some of the practical things we are doing, and by God's grace we will defend our votes on February 16th and in all the elections in 2019, and whatever it is that is due to us, we will get it, we will count it, and by God's grace it will take us to the promised land.
All right, I'm so sorry for our viewers. We have not been able to pick your calls. I think we are having a very interesting session which was to bring you in. Sir, you have a whole lot of ideas. You have a beautiful ideology, and you've mapped out your enforceability strategies and all that. Now, these are wonderful. But my question to you now is, do you see anything as a vitiating factor to all of this? Do you see anything with a party or personal or anything, you know, that will come in as a vitiating factor, you know, to
everything we have
impede you from achieving all that you are enlisted?
The biggest threat to victory in this election for me and quality governance for the people of Abuja Municipal is, and Buhari, is people like you, the English speaking people who on election day will not come out and vote. I'm being honest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those are the people, because they are Nigerians and they have disenfranchised themselves. So to all those types of people who say politics is bad, politics is dirty, I am not interested, I say to them, well, that means you have agreed that you are going to be in a messed up country forever. Come out. We don't need guns again. You saw what happened in some African country. We don't need all of that. We have the ballots. Come out and exercise your right. It's a civic duty given to you, not just by the state, but by God. So the only thing I think that will stand between us, myself, my party, and success in the election as well as in governance is that forward-thinking Nigerians, educated, exposed people who know better than the vulnerable people who are looking for small things and the people who are susceptible to bribes, that forward-thinking people will not participate in this process, whether as voters, whether as INEC officials doing the right things, or as security agents doing the right things. If all of us prick our consciences, tell ourselves the truth, and participate properly in 2019 elections in AMAC and Buhari, and vote for Mark Bishop Barrow and ANRP, then we wouldn't have a problem. That's how confident I am.
All right, talking about people not coming out, you talk about security too. All right. Now, in this election, someone was here in the studio with me yesterday, and he made mention of, that was a day before yesterday, Kenneth Okonkwo. He was speaking on security issues, and he said that the country is not security threatened at this period compared to what we had in 2015. That right now nobody is having the thought of, I want to relocate to my village because I don't know what's going to happen. Now, this is one of the reasons why people don't come out to vote. I don't just want to assume. I just want to believe that this is real. Now, people are not comfortable with what goes on in our polling unit. You're talking about thuggery and the rest of it. So most people just feel, I just want to be safe in my house. I don't want to step out. Now, how can we deal with such thing, because it's still an issue, in as much as the environment or the polity is not overheated right now security wise, but that is still, you know, there in the minds of the kind of people or the class of people you're talking about. Now, how can you, you know, deal with that to ensure that this class of people come out and mass to vote?
Well, the clarion call will go out to the chief security officer of the country, the president himself, the IG of police who has just been appointed. They need to come out and reassure people of what security arrangements are being made. But in reality, these same people I'm talking about, here's what I have to say to them. Where do you live? In Maitama, in Wuse, in Garki? Who do you live with? Elites like yourself? Who is going to come and do the violence? Let's be honest with ourselves. So if you live in suburban Abuja or in the very highbrow Abuja in Asokoro, who is going to? Is it your security men? Those are the only people who are not as financially what do you call it? Stable as you are. So who is going to come out in your estate? There are polling units in some estates in Abuja, in Sun City and so on. So who enters Sun City and disrupt an election in Sun City? Let's be honest with ourselves. So this is the type of truth that we have to push out there and change the narrative, that if you live in an urban dwelling, as many of these people do in Abuja, in Wuse, for example, Wuse has 30-something polling units. It is the biggest ward in Abuja. Who is going to orchestrate violence in Wuse? City Center has 28 polling units. Who is going to orchestrate violence in the city center? Which type of people live there? Is it not people like you and I who go to the same faith community, to the same church, to the same mosque? So what are they afraid of? You see, sometimes the problem with our society, which is a problem with humanity, is that we are afraid of things that we don't even know of. We just hear of, and we react to that fear. In reality, final take on this is, what is the history? What is the documented history of voter-related violence and thuggery in Abuja Municipal ever in Nigeria?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Alright, I'm calling from Plateau.
You're calling from where? Wow, I've lost it.
Wow.
Okay, he was calling from Plateau, and of all the calls, I just felt let's pick this and hear him out. Okay, so go ahead.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So is there any documented history of thuggery in Abuja Municipal, for example? Let's tell ourselves the truth. You know, let's stop playing on sentiments and narratives that are often spun to ensure that a certain class of politicians and political parties win the elections. That's what I feel. And I think that even you in the media, and I challenge you, that when you spin this narrative out, you are contributing to getting people to be afraid. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say that it's an issue, but we should say it in a positive way, in the way I've said it, that there's no documented evidence to support it. And in the communities you are talking about, where all of you are well off, nobody is coming to hurt you. Nobody is coming from anywhere. The most economically downtrodden person in that place will be your domestic staff.
All right, now let's go down to Buhari, for example.
Yes.
Let's go down to the communities now.
The more rural communities.
Good. Now, how do we ensure security there? Because all you've spoken is for the people in the places you've mentioned.
Yes.
And you are not seeing any possibility of such things happening there.
Yes.
That is you and your idea, what you think.
Yes.
Now, let's come down to the rural areas.
Correct.
Now, how do we ensure that even in the rural areas, you know that some decent people still live there?
Very good.
And some persons still have this fear that I don't want to go out. I don't know what's going to happen because of thuggery and touts and all that. How do we deal with that in the rural areas?
You know what I have seen, Uche, is that going around campaigning and meeting people, consulting these rural areas, that there are always people who I call the merchants of politics. The people who come and meet you and say, Honorable, we have 500 voters cards. If you bring X amount of money, we can help you facilitate. You know what I found out about these people? They are people like you and me. They are the most educated and seemingly on the surface responsible people in these communities. So here's what I would say to your question, that there are people in these communities who should be responsible leaders. But you know what? They are the ones organizing. They are the merchants of politics and the merchants of political thuggery. And it is unfortunate. You know, so the truth, I think, is that if more people actually come out and say, you see, you merchants of politics and thuggery, we are tired of you. Let us go out. This fear that you have sold to us, we are not responding to it. Let us go out. Everything in life is a risk. Waking up in the morning, even to go to work, going under Yanyan Bridge is a risk. People take those risks every day. They take it in pursuit of their personal ambitions. Can we take some risk measured in pursuit of a national ambition? I understand that things are not perfect, but things will never get perfect if everybody decides not to take a risk. So that will be my message to people. Take guarded risks. Talk to people in your community. Recognize that the merchants of politics and violence are not Agberuzu. They are actually people like you and I who are working behind the scenes to facilitate these things. Talk to such people within your faith communities. Talk to such people within your communal groups. Talk to such people within your age groups and your street groups in your communities. And let us all start talking to each other about the fact that coming out to vote and deciding that you want this candidate versus our own candidate doesn't mean that we should fight ourselves. I've been in the local community before where we went in and they said, no, this street, they blocked us. They said, this street is for our own candidates. You cannot bring another candidate. And my people went and we spoke to them. I said, look, let's grow up. Why are we behaving? Why do you have to block the road? This is Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to all of us. If you have campaigned for your candidate here yesterday, what stops us from campaigning for our candidate here today? And just that simple moral suasion. You see, the problem is that when you respond with violence to violence with violence, then you get more violence. On that day, in a community somewhere in Pape, we responded with what? With peace. And we disarmed them. They dropped everything, opened the place, and allowed us to do our campaign. But if my own people were thugs and said, no, we're not going to agree, what would have happened? Mayhem. And that's why I say that light is the only thing that can dispel darkness. We need to shine the light. So that's what I would say to people. Rather than hiding the light under a bushel, bring it out, shine it, and we will dispel the darkness on election day.
All right, we have said so much here, and talking about elections and expectations, and of the candidate who have been speaking so much on what he can offer, actually for what brought him first, and then what he thinks he can do for the people of Amak Buhari Federal Constituency. Like I said, we wish you well. But the truth is, there are people that if I come out and I am your person and I said I want to vote for you, what happens to the rest of the people? And I'm sure you must have done your underground work, must have done your campaign, but the most important thing is let peace lead. Exactly. Now you have followers. Now we are trying to work against violence in this election. Every stakeholders have been put in place, especially politicians that are contesting. So you do us a favor and talk to your followers to forget about violence. Let's have a peaceful and violence-free 2019 election. And that is where I'm going to draw the curtain for today's National Discourse. I remain your host, Uche Uduma. Please, on election day, go out there. It's a secret ballot system. So nobody's going to influence you to do what you don't want to do. Say no to vote buying. Say no to vote selling. Say no to thuggery and every manner of election malpractices. Let's go out there, vote for candidates of our choice peacefully, and return to our houses. All we are looking for is how to better Nigerians. For candidates that are coming out in the different capacities, let us ensure that peace reign above all. It's Uche Uduma signing out.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa young Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.